Hi guys, TGIF. It's Friday. Hope everybody's staying safe and practicing social distancing. We are working from home. I'm coming to you from my home studio out of New York, like I said, and we are practicing social distancing and trying to keep busy, and we're working and spending a lot of family time. If you saw our post for today, those little scenery plates were made by my daughter, who is 10 years old, and we are homeschooling, so that was part of her art lesson today. They are very easy to do. You could do scenery, just, let's say you don't even have design stamps. You can use design stamps that are in all of our uppercase font sets. So I'm going to utilize some of those today. I pulled out a butterfly from Juniper, a lot of the design stamps from the new Willow signature font. So I'm excited to show you those today. But the best part of having her home is it's like, you know, I could hand some of the stamping over to her. So she made those little plates in that picture. So I'm going to show you when I bring you over to my bench. And we're actually going to work on one. Actually, we're going to work on two. We're going to do one that's more simple. And then we're going to work with the ultra detail flowers of the month. So basically there are these beautiful ultra detail flowers, and there is one that is signifies every month. So instead of like a birth stone, it's a birth flower. They're beautiful. They are detailed. They are very clean and crisp. They are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stamps. So I'm going to work with a couple today. I'm going to show you how to tilt and tap. And that technique is what we use when we have anything that's very detailed, or anything starting from a 6 millimeter up, 4 millimeter stamp up. So we're going to work on that today. So now I'm going to bring you over to the block. So what I was telling you before, you could do something really simple. Just like that. Okay, now this is something that my 10-year-old did. So with this, we have, I just want to point out a few things. We have the succulent flowers that came out of Willow uppercase. So that is that set right here. Let me move this up a little bit so you could see it. Okay, and if you could see, it has those really pretty, simple, clean, crisp lines inside of it. And that set is rated for stainless. Okay, so what I did with that is I used, let me flip that around. I used one of the stamps here, okay? And then I just grabbed what I had from letter sets. So if you see, we have the heart stamp from Deco, the flower stamp from, I believe that's Bridget. We have the dragonfly from Juniper. So you could really build these patterns on top of one another. This is actually, the stamp right here is a stamp from our texture pack. So these are always really good to combine together. And I use the line and the curve stamp. So those are right here. Okay, and I'll show you how to use these. Now, these look frightening to some people for beginners. You don't have to be afraid of them. I'm going to show you exactly how to use them. They are very simple to use. Okay, so I'll walk you through it. And she also did this one. So this one is just using the texture for, that's very, very bright. The texture for clouds. She used the line stamp for a window. And then she used the succulent stamps for the bottom as grass. And I know I walked you through that when we did the Easter egg dipper, but I'll walk you through that again. And what she did, what I taught her how to do early this morning, was only utilize half of that stamp. So instead of getting the bottom half of the bulb, we really just used the top half of that stamp to leave a nice grass texture. All right, so we're gonna start. So this is one that I started before, okay? So I'm gonna show you, let's see. I'm gonna start with something simple. We're gonna start with, let me open up the set. We're gonna start with using this stamp right here. This is out of Willow. The lines are very clean and thin on this stamp. So this is out of the Willow uppercase, okay? And what I mean by, let me get just a scrap piece here to show you, and the one that we're working on. What I mean by using only half of this stamp. So this stamp, if you hit it, that's what it looks like, okay? I think I might try to take, I think that's better. But now you see me, but we can't be choosy, right? So this one has really clean lines, but you see that bulb on the bottom? When I talk about using the top half, I'm gonna actually turn it on its side. So when you're stamping, again, you always wanna make sure that the ImpressArt's facing you. But I'm gonna give you a side view of how to use only half of that stamp, okay? So if you were to use the full impression, you would need it straight up and down, flat, okay? What you're gonna do is you're gonna tilt that stamp towards the top. Then you're gonna take your hammer, let me see if I could get that whole thing in, all right. Then you're going to lay it flat, tip it forward, and you're just going to really just use the tip of that stamp with that hammer. And you're gonna see that it leaves just the tip of that stamp. So you get all that nice fine line, and that's what you could use for your grass. So again, I'm gonna have the ImpressArt facing me, and I'm gonna bring it to the edge. I'm gonna tilt it up a little bit, and I'm gonna favor the top. So as you could see, I have a little sprig of grass there, okay? Now, I like to not tape my blanks down, but I know a lot of people do. So I'm going to tape that down for you, okay? And then I'm gonna continue my grass. And I wanna do it at different levels. Okay, and sometimes I want to put that bulb in to alternate it. And if you're just tuning in, I'm talking about only using the top half of my stamp. And I'm utilizing the succulent stamps from the design stamps from the 4mm Willow set. So I'm going to start with the base of my grass, just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna come back in. I'm gonna come back in with a different succulent. And this is kind of more fanned out, okay? And I'm gonna bring it. Feel free to double impression that. Lay one stamp over the other. What it does is that it gives it texture. It gives it dimension. So see right here, I gave it a little bit more texture by putting another impression over the impression that I already had. Then I'm gonna start bringing wisps up. So I'm gonna use my curved line. Now with this, and I'm sure many of you have heard me say this before, feel free to turn your bench block, okay? As you're stamping, feel free to move it. Look at your stamp from different angles. That's the best way to do it. So right now I'm gonna do stems for my flowers, okay? So I'm gonna utilize half of that, okay? Do you see how I have half of that curved stamp hanging off the block? Just like that. And I'm going to favor, I'm going to favor the top half of my stamp to create that little wisp. So you see how that comes up. And now I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to twist my blank, my bench block. I'm going to make this one a little higher. So what that does is it gives me these beautiful, nice, thin, crisp, curved lines that I now could put my flowers on top. So I'm going to start with my, I'm going to use one of the flower succulent stamps. So I'm going to, again, I'm going to have that ImpressArt facing me. And I'm going to place it down. Now, with this, I'm going to hit it once on top. And then lightly, in a circular motion, give it a couple of taps. So you're going to see how nice and crisp that comes out. Okay? Then I want to come back in and I want to give it another little leaf. So again, I'm going to use half my stamp and I am going to branch it out. Now, if anyone's noticed the samples that we've been making, I am a big fan of the dot stamp. You know, when you're laying in the grass and you see little tiny insects, you know, I feel like the dot stamp really gives it that extra design element to it. Now, I'm going to work with a stamp that I had already in the house from, I want to say, a few years ago. And that is going to be the daisy stamp. And this is a larger stamp. It's a 6mm design stamp. And I am going to place it right in the center. If you see, I'm going to turn it ever so slightly and try to line up with that impression of that curved stamp. And with the 6mm stamp, you're going to do a tilt and tap. So you're going to hit it once. Then I want you to bring it back, forward, side, side, and just one more for good measure. And you're going to see how nice that comes out. Okay? And then I'm just going to continue with my flowers. So I'm going to use a small daisy. Now, if you don't have the line stamps, you could definitely use your L's, your I's in any of your font sets. So I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to use my I coming out of my willow. Okay? So sometimes when you're trying to line up your stamps, okay, you can actually try not to scratch your metal, but if you run it down a little bit at an angle, you're going to feel that lip of that impression. And then you're going to just ever so lightly give it a little tap. And there's your I stamp. So like I said, feel that impression. Feel that, you know, the impression that you have. I'll come back and I'll show you. You know, in one of those petals. Once you feel that it's really in that ridge, then you stamp it. But stamp it lightly. The metal that I'm stamping on is an alchemy piece. Okay, alchemy is our tin-based alloy, very similar to the properties of pewter. I can't talk about this material enough. I love it. So I'm going to take that down. And then, let's see if I have leaves. You know what? Then I'm going to give a little dragonfly. So I'm going to take it, give it one hit, bring it back, forward, side, side, just like that. And then I'm going to give her some little dots. You know, Bob Ross had his happy trees. I guess I have my happy dots. And then if you wanted to do a bush of flowers, we have, what I'm using now is we have a texture pack that has flower texture in it. And I love to utilize my flower stamps and my texture stamps together. Let me see if I could find that other one. Oh, here it is. So if you could see it, one is 3 flowers with little dots, and I'll stamp that out to show you. And the other is a larger with a little bit of detail. So I'm going to take it down and I'm going to do a bush of flowers. So like I said, when you're doing these scenes, don't feel like you don't need to overlap. Definitely overlap. So I'm going to take it, hit it, give it a couple of hits. And you can see how nice that looks. And then I'm going to come back in with the other texture stamp. Let's see, where did I put it? Okay. And like I said, I want to do a bush. And there we go. We have that. Okay. And then you could come back in, like I said, with that design, that line stamp, that curve stamp, and only, let me move that over for you guys, only use half of it, like little sprigs of grass. And also, if you look on the inspiration gallery, there is a ring dish that we did, same thing, that's going to be using the alchemy, and we used all of the line and the curve in it as well. So you're just going to continue building and building and building onto your scene. And these are just really pretty, and they're a lot of fun. They're great if you're working on a bookmark. I mean, I love scene building. I'm actually going to, let's see, show you how to do a wreath. So the wreaths I love. And I could see your comments, so let me know if you have any questions or if there's something, a technique that you like to see me demonstrate. So this is the curve, if you just tuned in. And I like to make it all different. So the thing with the curved stamp is, don't be afraid of it. It is extremely sharp. Okay, so you're not going to need to hit it very much. Right now we're working on the alchemy. But all you have to do to get it in a circle is to fill in, to feel that impression. I don't know if you guys could see that. So I'm just running it ever so lightly. Do you see how it falls right in there? So it's falling right in that impression. Then I'm going to press down on it. The curve stamp is no joke, but it is one of my favorites lately. So I'm only giving it one tap, and you could see how great that looks. Okay, so I'm going to continue. And remember, like I said, you don't have to turn your stamps. Turn your block. So you're going to fill that right in. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to continue. So here's my half a circle. Okay, and you could see my daughter did more of like a door wreath, which I'm really adoring lately. I use this a lot. So then to make that, I'm just going to come back and I'm going to feel that impression, and I'm going to, let's see if I could show you this way. I'm going to make another impression under that curve, but using that same point of reference, okay? Using that point, feeling that impression, and I'm going to meet it right up to where my other crescent is. So you could see that. Then I'm going to go to this point and that point and give it another hit. Now, they don't have to meet up. See these gaps? This gap right here is perfect because that's where I'm going to put my flower, okay? So if you like that geometric pattern, so it looks like a grapevine wreath, this is exactly how you do that. Again, I'm going to feel my impression. Now remember that when we're stamping, we're forging metal, okay? Forging metal, sometimes your blank starts to give a little bit of have a little bit of a curve in it. And I like to call that cupping. Other people have different names for it. I always like to have my multifunction hammer near me. This one right here. Okay. And I like to use my nylon head. Okay. So I'm going to just pop my nylon head in there. And I tighten the screw at the bottom as best as I can, which is usually really tight because then I need help unscrewing it. Okay, and you could, as you're working on it, you could take the tape off, turn it over. The good thing about the nylon head is that when you're hitting the back of it to flatten it out again, you're not getting any marring in the metal. So you're just going to take it, give it a couple of nice taps, and you're going to see that it's flat again. Okay, and then I'm going to continue my pattern. So I think I have it the way I want it. Okay, and I'm going to start with, I am going to use our ultra detail stamps. So these are, like I said before, if you just turned in, these are beautiful. They have a lot of detail in them. So we have violet. How gorgeous is that? And I have to tell you guys that I have the best ImpressArt team in the whole entire world. I know I got very emotional with them this morning during our morning meeting, but they are so talented, each and every one that I work with, that I am super fortunate. So here is our poppy stamp. These are all designed in-house by our artists. And this is the daisy. Okay. Let's see what else I pulled out. Oh, I also pulled out this is an oldie but a goodie. Guys, this is the Ultra Detail Dragonfly stamp. And I think I might just put that off to the side and stamp that out for you just because I am in love with this stamp. But okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the bottom of this Ultra Detail stamp, okay? Like we were feeling for the impression to continue, okay? I'm going to do the same thing with this. So I'm going to take the bottom of this stamp and I am going to feel the impression. So this takes a little skill, but I have faith in you guys. So once you feel that impression, I want you to really bear down on that stamp. Do you see how much pressure I'm putting on it with my fingers? Then I want you to give it one nice hit. Move that camera up just a little bit. Gonna give it one nice hit. Then you're gonna tilt it forward, backward, side, and side. And that is gonna make sure your impression comes out really nice and clean. See how beautiful that is? Now, do you see how I lined up inside of that last impression that I made with the curved stamp? So you're going to come in right in that indentation, and then you're just going to build on it. Okay? I'm going to take the stem of my flower, and I'm going to try to get it right inside of that poppy flower. And again, I'm gonna hit it once, bring it forward, back, side, side. Now when I kick it back, okay, when I hit it down, you don't want to put too much pressure on the stem because if you put too much pressure, because the metal is soft, it's going to spread that metal out a little bit more. So I'm just going to give it one more hit at the top. And you're going to see how pretty that came out. Let's see if we could zoom in on that. If I pull it back, there we go. And this is how you begin to build your wreath. Okay. So let's see, we had somebody for a chrysanthemum. Let's see what I have here. I have a morning glory. I think I'm going to use a morning glory. So with the open side of my wreath, I'm going to fill it in. Snip back, forward, side, side, and back to the center. See how beautiful these impressions are. They're gorgeous. Okay, now the way I stamped this one is I did the reverse side. So this is my front, okay? I use the other side of it. You can turn these flowers around, okay, to create the look that you want to. I'm now going to do the chrysanthemum. If you could see that one. Pull it back here. Look how gorgeous that is. And I'm, again, going to use that stem. I'm going to bring that stem, and I'm going to find my sweet spot. I'm going to find that last indentation of that flower, okay? And I am going to then, now, this one has a lot of detail. You see all those fine lines? So you really want to make sure that you're tilting and tapping. With these that have so much detail, I like to do also a circular motion. Okay, so I'll show you how I do it with the tilt and tap, and then I'll go back with the circular motion, okay? So I'm going to hit it once. I'm going to hit it twice. Then I'm going to go front, side, side, and back. You could also go around in a circular motion just to make sure that you get all of that peony stamp in there. And then I'm going to, let's see, I love, like I said, I love my dots. I love my dots. I also love my hearts. We have a tiny heart just like that, okay? I like to use this as just an accent, just to give it a little something, just to fill in some of those gaps that I was telling you about before. Do you see how you could use those hearts to fill it in? Okay. And it actually looks a little like a leaf if you hit it a certain way, at a certain angle. Do you see that? And then I'm going to come in with some dots. I know I'm crazy with the dots, but I love, it just gives it a little something. And if you noticed, I'm just hitting them. So I hit one very lightly. And then if I hit it a little harder, you could see that it leaves a different impression. So then I'm going to come back in with, I'm going to use some of the Pretty Crisp lines from Willow. And I'm just going to give it a little tilt and tap. So I'm going to use that succulent plant as a leaf. Do you see that right up there? And then I'm going to come in with a flower, and I'm going to overlap it ever so slightly, okay? And again, I'm going to hit it and give it a little bit, tilt and tap, just to get all of that detail in there. Do you see that? Okay. And then you could close up your circle. So I think I'm going to utilize, Now, I know in the beginning of the week, I was talking about being able to see your impression in the metal that you're working with. Look in that piece of metal. Do you see that impression? Now I'm doing this without guides, okay? You don't have to use guides when you're doing, I like to call it stamp drawing, okay? You could utilize that impression that you see in your metal. Do you guys see that? To line it up. And that's why I like alchemy also. Same thing with aluminum. They're super shiny. You could see right through it. Now, if you're stamping on brass and copper, you're going to see that it is a little harder to do. You're going to have to use that tilt and tap with a little gusto behind it. But for the most part, when you're using the aluminum and the alchemy and pewter, you could see that impression in there. So it makes it really nice and easy to line it up. So I am going to do that here. And even after all this time, I hold my breath. And I'm turning my block. Okay, I'm going to place it down. Again, I'm putting pressure on my stamp. I'm going to give it one nice hit. I'm going to bring it back, forward, side, side. I'm going to give 2 more for measure. And there we go. Look how beautiful that looks. Now, it's okay that you have gone over. You know, I went over a little bit. It's fine. All right, so I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to bring in my heart. I'm just going to give a couple right here to just really fill in that gap that I was telling you guys about. And I'm using it like flower petals. Yes, you can use patina paint on this material. This material, it is a tin-based alloy, very similar to pewter. It is hypoallergenic. It's not going to corrode. It's not going to tarnish on you. Very similar to pewter. So yes, you can use patina paint on it. You could also use our enamel markers in different colors on it. Lately, I really like blending the black and the silver. And let's see if I have that. If I have a silver, I think the next video I'll bring out the silver. But we have it in a blue patina, like a blue-green. We have it in a silver. We have it in a brown. The brown looks beautiful when you're using brass. It doesn't give that very hard look of the black sometimes, if that's not your personal preference. It also looks really, really nice, the brown on the copper. So what I've been doing lately is that I've been blending. I put my layer of black on, I wipe it off, and then I put my silver on top of it. And what that does is that it turns that patina into a gunmetal gray with a little bit of sparkle in that. And I think we could go through that maybe sometime next week. Remember, it's really important that you guys sign up for our newsletter on our page, ImpressArt.com. I'm talking, so I'm using the wrong tool. I'm going to come back in with a couple of dots in my negative space. Sign up for that newsletter because you'll get emails pertaining to what we are talking about and what technique I'm going to be showing, which is always great. So I'm going to come back in. I'm going to use another succulent stamp, but one with more of a bulb on the bottom. So it's going to fit. If you look, it fits right in the crevice of that rose and that other flower. The tilt and tap is a really great technique to use because it gets all of your impressions in there. And if you see what I did, sometimes you have some negative space. That's where that dot stamp comes in. You could fill that right in, okay, just like I did here. But I utilized that stamp as greenery, okay, just like that. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to fill that in. What I was saying before was the different patinas. So this is another enamel marker. This is the silver. So obviously this is a new marker. So I was saying two things I learned. Well, one thing I learned was not to binge watch The Tiger King on Netflix, because it's like you can't look away. But Bounty towels, used to be able to rip them in half, but now you can make squares with them. I don't know if you guys could see that. And these are great for stamping. You don't have to use a big piece of paper towel. So I am going to, if anybody needs to know how to start a marker, so I don't want you to shake them. You're just gonna press down on the tip and wait for that ink to fill that tip up, okay? You could give it a little shake, but I wouldn't shake it too much. I would just keep on applying pressure to that tip to make sure that it fills up. There we go. Do you see how it's coming out? Okay, so I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to color in using my black enamel marker first, okay? Because I know a lot of you had questions pertaining to some of the projects on the inspiration gallery on how my impressions are looking like they're have an antique look to them, okay? So I am going to take my black enamel marker, and I'm going to fill in all of my designs, all of my impressions. Now with the enamel, you want to make it messy, I like to say. And then you're going to lightly wipe it, okay? Now I like the black enamel, you know, I like it. When it comes to doing discs that have a lot of detail, the black, you know, kind of, you know, could go either way for me. I like more of that pewter gunmetal gray look. So I'm just going to take my silver marker and I'm going to cover it. Okay? And I'm not going to let this sit that much. Okay? I am going to wipe it right away. And you could see how it turns it into more of a gunmetal gray look. And maybe my light isn't that great here, but if you look on ImpressArt.com, you could even mix the paints. So if you want it a little darker, you could come back in and you could see how it's starting to turn a darker gray. And bring that right in. And mix those colors. The green is very nice too. So you could see that I'm blending these colors and they look really nice together. There's a really bad glare, but I'll take a picture of these after. You could always, I like to lightly matte my area. So I'm going to take my buffing block in my medium grit and run it over. And really matte that. And then I come back in with my buffing just to go over it a little bit. You could check out the inspiration gallery, like Jen said. We mixed a lot of different patinas with the flowers, which look so nice. They come out really beautiful. We have a couple of new petite blanks that came out a few weeks ago that are really nice with the flowers. Any colors like pink or purple in the markers? No, actually I opened up a pack. So I took the silver out of it. So if you see, there is a silver in there, which I used, a dark chocolate brown, a patina green, more of a bluish, and a gold. The gold looks really nice if you are stamping a mandala on silver. It gives it more of a gold leaf look in the impressions, and it's really pretty. We are coming out probably in the new year with a other assorted marker pack. But thank you very much for tuning in, guys. We hope that everybody's safe and social distancing and spending family time and creating. And it's okay. Let me put you back in here. It's okay to be that crazy lady in your neighborhood that's dropping things in people's mailboxes. Nothing says community than making somebody happy. Everybody's walking around, everybody's walking their dog. You know, let your neighbor know that you're still there, even if you can't have that face-to-face contact with them. So have a good weekend. Take care of yourself. Be safe. Stamp, create. Get all those creative juices going. And please send us any feedback you might have or any questions pertaining to maybe a tutorial you want me to walk you through. So have an amazing weekend. Thanks so much.